The Grapes of Wrath background is that it was written in 1940, just as the United States was coming out of the Great Depression. And the reason they came out of the Great Depression that suddenly was because of the World War II in Europe, and created many manufacturing jobs to send supplies over to Great Britain. And so all the unemployed footloose people suddenly became employed with manufacturing jobs.
Get your kick on Route 66. It winds from Chicago to L.A. More than 2,000 miles all the way.
John Steinbeck mostly focuses on the Oklahoma tenant farmers in his novel, and they were particularly disadvantaged because of the Dust Bowl, which was a series of droughts during the 1930s, which pretty much crippled all the agriculture on the Great Plains, especially in Oklahoma and Kansas. And the Oklahoma farmers didn't really own their farms; they were owned by big banks off in the east. But because they couldn't make any profits, because they couldn't grow a crop because of all the droughts, then the big banks displaced them and leave, because they thought they could make more profits by consolidating, knocking down the tenants' farms, making more land, and then growing more crop. This displaced a whole lot of people, and so they were unemployed and homeless, looking for jobs in their towns. And so California Corporate Farms put flyers in all the towns, inviting the people to come out to California to do farm labor. And so many of the Oklahomans did that. They sold all their farm equipment, bought vehicles, and went out on Route 66 to go to California. And so they were very disappointed and angry that they could only get pennies on the dollar for their farm equipment, because almost everybody was selling their farm equipment because they couldn't till the land anymore. They couldn't do anything with the land because it wasn't theirs, and everybody wanted to sell it to raise money to go to camp. And on Route 66, the Okies were especially discriminated against just because they were penniless, and they were willing to beg and steal for what they needed to get to California to get food and labor and work. And so not everybody was that way, though, especially a waitress named May, who gave away bread to a starving family on Route 66 for about 80% of what it was worth, of what she paid for it. And she also gave their children candy sticks for 1/20th the cost. And the Jodes, on their way, they help another family, the Wilsons, get to California. And in addition, just another example of people caring for each other, there was a family taken down on the side of the road, yet they made it to California on 2 trips, just hitchhiking with other people. So everybody supported each other that way. There was a communal aspect to it. But on their way to California, the Jodes endure many tragedies. Grandpa dies soon after leaving. Noah leaves the family in the desert. They're dogged by a car. And Grandma dies soon after getting to California. And so the Jodes realize that California isn't as great as it's supposed to be when they're about to get to California, because they're Oklahomans or Okies turning back from California because they couldn't make a living at doing farm labor. And so California, and they thought of it as the promised land, but it really isn't. And the flyers in the town, that was the California Corporate Farms intentionally manipulating the laws of supply and get so many people out there that everybody would be competing for the same jobs, and the price of wages would go way down. So it would be below minimum wage, but nobody was enforcing minimum wage. In fact, deputies were just trying to stir up trouble in the squatter settlements or Hoovervilles just to fill their jail cells, because they got paid by the jail occupancy, not by the hour. And so they just keep abusing farmers. They work long days. The work is only at certain times. And they get paid almost nothing during those times. what's even worse is when they go into the camps, then they're constantly abused by the deputies, and everybody's starving, stealing, and even the California citizens learn to hate the Okies just because they're willing to steal because everybody's starving. And so eventually the Okies start to strike, especially Joe, who's a reverend that travels with the Jodes to California. He realizes that he has no family, so nothing to lose. So he decides to rebel against their deplorable living conditions and try to get extra wages for them for a while. He succeeds in getting higher wages for one day. But nothing happens after that because the deputies bash his head in with a shovel to stop all the resistance in its tracks and to make sure that no one will follow in resisting and just destroy the whole will of the farmers. And so it's a pretty hopeless situation for the rest of the time that the farmers are there.
Get your kicks on Route 66.